All right, everybody, welcome to this year's awards ceremony. I'm going to ask everybody to stand up, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Also, silence your phones at this time, please. Make sure your phones are silenced, no alarms going off. All right. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, you may be seated. We're going to start off. We have two guests here from the Army, United States Army, recruiting. I'm going to introduce Captain Brian Fidden-Kevez, nailed it, and Sergeant First Class Jeremy Mansell for a few words. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us. Very briefly, I wanted to take this opportunity. I met with Chief Hart a couple weeks ago, and I said, I'm looking for men and women to join the United States Army Reserves who understand what service is about. And he said, I'm the Chief of Police of Linden, New Jersey, so I know a few of those men and women. So with that being said, I'm Brian Fidden-Kevez. I am an EOD tech, and I'm an Army logistician, and I'm here with Sergeant First Class Mansell, who's trained as an armor and an infantry non-commissioned officer. The Army is looking for men and women under 40 years old, unless you are a veteran, in which case we can deduct those years off of your service, and we can push that limit a little bit, who are looking to expand what they're doing to include defense of this country and defense of our national security. So with that, I'd love to talk with all of you. We have enough shirts for every single one of you. I brought a shirt for everyone. So please come by our desk, and I'll pass it off to Sergeant First Class Mansell. He's an Army Career Counselor out of Elizabeth, and he's going to talk real quick about why you should come meet with us. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I want to start off by saying thank you for what you do for the community and for this country. Without the police force, we really just run into a lot of chaos. I'll keep this short so that you can get with your ceremony and get to the food. But for all of the rookies that are out here, and even some of you that are under that age of 40, we can offer you 3 retirement checks at the end instead of just the one that you would get from the state. I know that the state has recently changed your retirement process. Army has as well. We've gone to a blended retirement now, which is built more like a 401k, so you don't necessarily have to do 20 years in the reserve to get your full retirement. And we can also get you those retirement checks before the age of 65, and then you can also start receiving VA checks depending on what your disability rating would be. We have 140-something jobs in the reserve. You don't exactly have to go into the MP field, which is the equivalent of the police force for the Army. If you just want a different skill or a different trade to bounce off of once you're done being a police officer, we have everything from mechanics to allied trades to admin and things like that. So if you'd like any other information, please stop by and speak to us. I can get you in for an appointment or just give you any information that you may need.
Hey, and free shirts whether or not you enlist. With that being said, hey, it's not every leader of an organization who says, I'm willing to take on some sacrifice or some risk to my organization by sharing the talent that I have with another organization. I really appreciate that, Chief Hart. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to present a certificate, an Army Reserve Partner Leader to Chief Hart for your contribution to our national security and the preservation of liberty and freedom by supporting your employee participation, your officers' participation in the Army Reserve. I know you got several reservists who already work with you and several National Guard members, and hopefully we can interest a few more of you. So, Chief, thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right, welcome everybody again. Thanks for your time today getting started. We are here today to reflect on the achievements of our personnel throughout all of 2021. All right, we also have a few people that we will recognize for their service to the department and the city, those who achieved 25 and 30 years of service. We'll get to that later. Today we will recognize the hard work, dedicated service, and the commitment to our profession that follows and supports our department goals and objectives. We began a review of the Noteworthy Jobs from 2021 early this spring. It was a time-consuming process, reviewed many jobs and entries. The awards committee combed through dozens and dozens of jobs to get to where we are today. In addition, many more jobs and entries from our Guardian tracking software were evaluated, right? So not just those that were put into the system for award nomination, right? But we also looked for a letter of commendation, write-ups, letter of appreciation, peer and supervisor recognition, which I would like to add and bring up now. Anybody here has the ability to write and submit a Guardian on behalf of a fellow coworker, their peer. It doesn't always have to come from a supervisor. Keep that in mind. Also the productivity tab and distinguished service demonstration of leadership as well. So we combed through every one of those categories in Guardian to make sure that we didn't leave any stone unturned. During this deeper evaluation of the Guardian entries, it was determined many more incidents actually deserved additional recognition, which we'll highlight today. I should note that the awards committee is comprised of dedicated staff, which incorporates all facets of the agency. Right? We have representatives from patrol, different investigative bureaus, traffic, DB, records, training, dispatch, along with representation, obviously, both from the PBA and SOA. It is important to distinguish the hard work and dedication of each of the disciplines here with us this afternoon, from the officers on the front line to obviously our civilian personnel, from records to dispatch, everybody that contributes to getting the job done. Before we break for lunch, right after we open here, we're going to go over to the side. We have food we're going to eat first, and then we'll get into the awards and some of the speeches later on. All right, but I would like to get a few thank yous out of the way now before the end. First, I want to thank you to the mayor and the elected officials for their continued support of the department, and obviously the chief for your hard work and dedication behind the scenes. A big thank you to both our union heads, President Joe Appello and President Aaron Fernandez from the SOA, for their coordinated efforts in ensuring that the food and refreshments were ordered and more importantly paid for. So thank you to the PBA for their contributions, and also behind the scenes everybody that assisted with setting this up. All right, I wanted to just get that thank you out first. Stephanie and Oliveira from the chief's office, all the new trainees who actually volunteered to help this morning, so thank you to the trainees. Appreciate you guys. All right, we'll start with Captain Toth.
Good evening, everyone. Between January 30th and February 4th of last year, 3 separate armed robberies occurred within the city of Linden. In all 3 robberies, a handgun was either shown or implied. Detective Juan Velard and Detective Daniel Hemingway were assigned to follow up and investigate these crimes. Detective Hemingway was able to identify the same suspect vehicle in both of his investigations, while Detective Velarde's active robbery scene was able to quickly put out a bolo to surrounding jurisdictions, and Elizabeth PD located and stopped the suspect vehicle shortly afterwards and identified the occupants. An imitation firearm was recovered from the vehicle, and the occupants were arrested, and the vehicle was towed pending a search warrant. A search warrant was obtained for the vehicle, and located inside was clothing worn by the suspects during the robberies. These suspects were suspected of committing all 3 of the Linden robberies, as well as numerous recent robberies throughout Union County. The suspects were ultimately charged with first-degree robbery for each of the 3 Linden robberies, as well as several other Union County robberies. In recognition of their display of outstanding teamwork and esprit de corps, in performance of a highly creditable act beyond the ordinary course of duty, Detective Juan Velard and Detective Daniel Hemingway are awarded the Chief Citation Medal. Please step forward. On February 21st, an adult male was reported missing, and Detective Maurice Rawlins was assigned the missing person investigation. From the inception of the case, he worked continuously and tenaciously to trace the missing person's steps from the time before he went missing to locating his vehicle and finally to the investigation's unfortunate conclusion. Throughout the 9-day investigation, Detective Rawlins showed continuous compassion to the missing person's family and steadfast patience and determination when following up with leads, coordinating with outside agencies, and fielding dozens of phone calls, often after hours and on days off, from family and other concerned citizens. This investigation was extremely emotional for all parties involved, and Detective Rawlins handled himself and the investigation in a very professional and compassionate manner. Throughout the investigation, Detective Juan Velard assisted Detective Rawlins almost every step of the way and was valuable in assisting with outside agency coordination. He utilized his professional contacts with the City of Newark Police Department in aiding the investigation, and this in turn expedited certain processes that otherwise would have been more time-consuming. In recognition of their performance as recognizable because of its professionalism, attention to detail, and special efforts to accomplish it, Detective Maurice Rawlins and Detective Juan Velard are awarded a certificate of commendation. On September 19, 2021, 3 separate incidents of strong-armed robbery were reported within the city of Linden. These crimes all occurred close in time and proximity to each other. A follow-up investigation was conducted and led by Detective Nicole Andrews. After months of video canvas, interviews, and follow-up, she was able to identify 2 juvenile suspects. These suspects were arrested in Newark, New Jersey for similar crimes immediately after committing our crimes. She obtained body-worn camera footage from Newark PD and was able to positively identify the suspects by the clothing they were wearing. They were each charged with 3 separate counts of second-degree robbery. In recognition of her performance of a highly creditable act beyond the ordinary course of duty, Detective Nicole Andrews is awarded the Chief Citation Medal. On October 29, 2021, units responded to Elizabeth, New Jersey for a female victim suffering a possible stab wound that occurred within the city of Linden. The victim was initially not truthful and led investigators in the wrong direction. An intense follow-up investigation was conducted and led by Detective Michael Sistaro. After months of video canvas, interviews, interrogations, and follow-ups, Detective Sistaro was able to determine the correct location of the incident, as well as identify a possible suspect. After further investigation, the suspect was positively identified and charged with second-degree aggravated assault and related weapons offenses. In recognition of his performance of a highly creditable act beyond the ordinary course of duty, Detective Michael Sistaro is awarded the Chief Citation Medal. On November 1st, 2021, a residence on West 15th Street was burglarized while the residents were on their daily walk. The front door was forced open and several gold coins and a gold watch were stolen. Detective Juan Velard was assigned the investigation. After an extensive video canvas, he was able to identify a suspect and suspect vehicle. A tracks bulletin was disseminated and he was able to ascertain a possible suspect. Detective Velard used this information along with all the video evidence he gathered and was able to positively identify the suspect in the vehicle. The suspect was subsequently charged with burglary and related theft offenses. In recognition of his performance that is recognizable because of its professionalism, attention to detail, and special efforts to accomplish it, Detective Juan Velard is awarded a certificate of commendation. On November 16, 2021, an armed robbery involving a knife occurred at a local pharmacy on East St. George Avenue. A follow-up investigation was conducted and led by Detective Matthew Jones. After conducting a video canvass and interviewing witnesses, Detective Jones was able to locate the weapon used in the crime, as well as identify a possible suspect vehicle. Detective Jones requested the assistance of Sergeant Matthew Wisnowski and the Street Crimes Unit at the time to keep an eye out for the vehicle, which had specific unique identifiers. On that same night, Sergeant Wisnowski, Field Training Officer Raymond Wegerneck, and Officer Michael Linebaugh located the vehicle and subsequently arrested the driver for an unrelated offense. Detective Jones was interviewed the driver and was able to obtain critical information to identify the actual suspect. As the investigation continued, Detective Jones was able to obtain search warrants, which ultimately led to additional evidence. Charges were then approved for first-degree armed robbery and related weapons offenses. Bless. In recognition of their display of outstanding teamwork and esprit de corps, in performance of a highly creditable act beyond the ordinary course of duty, Detective Matthew Jones, Sergeant Matthew Wisnowski, Field Training Officer Raymond Wegerneck, and Officer Michael Linebaugh are awarded the Chief Citation Medal. On November 30th, a strong armed robbery occurred at a local auto repair shop located on East Elizabeth Avenue. The suspect entered the business and stole approximately $500 cash from an office that he was not permitted to enter. As he was attempting to leave in his vehicle, he was approached by employees and almost struck them as he attempted to drive away. A follow-up investigation was conducted and led by Detective Nicole Andrews. She disseminated a tracks bulletin to all state agencies, and as a result, she was able to obtain the identity of a possible suspect. After conducting a video canvass, interviewing witnesses, and following up all leads, she was able to positively identify the suspect. As a result of her investigation, the suspect was charged with second-degree robbery and related theft offenses. In recognition of her performance of a highly creditable act beyond the ordinary course of duty, Detective Nicole Andrews is awarded the Chief Citation Medal.
All right, Captain Cassioppo.
In January 2021, Officers Eddie Mack and Jabari Schultz were dispatched to a report of a trespassing on a property. Upon arrival, the officers began to canvass the area and observed two males inside of a vehicle parked in the parking lot of the fenced-in business. The two males noticed the officers and immediately took off on foot. A brief foot pursuit ensued. The two males ignored officers' commands to stop and split in different directions. Fortunately, Officers Schultz and Mack were able to apprehend one of the males. Once in their custody, the officers recovered multiple saw blades and a vehicle remote to a Chevrolet. Through further investigation on the scene, officers observed a vehicle with a cut exhaust pipe. The suspect was ultimately charged with burglary, possession of burglar tools, criminal attempt theft, and resisting arrest. In recognition of these officers' quick response and attention to detail, while displaying outstanding teamwork, Officers Eddie Mack and Officers Jabari Schultz are awarded the Chief Citation Medal. On January 30th, 2021, Officers Joshua Sheehy and Michael Mutz conducted a motor vehicle stop after observing it traveling at a high rate of speed northbound on the highway. When the officers approached the vehicle, they began speaking with the driver and sole occupant, who was attempting to communicate with the officers through sign language. Officers tried alternate methods of communication, at which point the male provided a false name. When officers approached the male again, he was now on the phone with his wife. The wife stated she was miscarrying her unborn child, but would meet with the officers on scene to assist. Officers Rizzo and Condora arrived as backup and asked the male driver to step out of the vehicle. While doing so, they detected the odor of marijuana and conducted a search of the vehicle. During the search, officers recovered $7,000 in counterfeit bills, paraphernalia, prescription drugs, a dismantled .22 caliber revolver, and various types of ammunition. The male was subsequently charged with multiple CDS offenses and possession of a weapon. In recognition of their special efforts, outstanding teamwork, and attention to detail, Officers Mutz, Condora, Sheehy, and Rizzo are awarded the Chief Citation Medal. On May 10, 2021, Officers Bassage and Jesse Colon were dispatched to the 800 block of East Elizabeth Avenue on a report of a burglary. While en route, dispatch advised responding units that the suspect is a black male wearing all black clothes and red sneakers walking east on East Elizabeth Avenue. Once on scene, officers reviewed surveillance footage and provided additional information to surrounding units. Officer William Ingram then located and stopped the male fitting the description a short time later near Chandler and Elizabeth Avenue. Officers transported the victim to this location where a positive identification was made. The suspect was arrested and charges approved by the prosecutor's office for burglary. In recognition of their special efforts, outstanding teamwork, and attention to detail, Officers Bassage, Colon, and Ingram are awarded the Chief Citation Medal. On June 10, 2021, Officer Daniel Mendez, Carlos Ralda, Jonathan Barrios, Nicholas Russo, and Field Training Officer Raymond Wegerneck were dispatched to a residence on a report of a man hearing voices. Upon arrival, the male subject and his sister were isolated and interviewed separately. While FTO Wegerneck was speaking with the subject's sister in a bedroom, the subject began to be irritated and forcefully attempted to enter the locked bedroom. Officer Mendez blocked the subject's path to the room, but was met with the subject drawing a black knife from his pocket, lunging at Officer Mendez while verbally threatening to stab Officer Mendez in the neck. Officer Mendez immediately tackled the knife-wielding subject onto the sofa nearby. The on-scene officers, now including Sergeant Jimmy Solano, immediately responded to this threat and were able to gain control of the belligerent, threatening subject with previously trained arrest and control tactics. This apprehension was conducted with the least amount of force without injury to the subject or the officers. Despite the successful mitigation of the armed encounter, the subject continued his physical assault while being transported to the hospital as he struggled with officers and kicked them in attempting to get medical and psychiatric treatment. In recognition of their exemplary action involving grave personal danger in the intelligence performance of their duties, Sergeant Jimmy Solano, Field Training Officer Raymond Wegerneck, Officer Daniel Mendez, Carlos Ralda, Nicholas Russo, and Jonathan Barrios are awarded the Commendation Medal. On June 11, 2021, multiple patrol units were dispatched to the 400 block of Southwood Avenue on reports of shots fired in the area. At the location, FTO John Bassage spoke to a male who was visibly shaken and stated he heard approximately 5 gunshots. Officers located several pieces of evidence in the immediate area, including 4 shell casings and vehicle damage from a bullet hole. There was a surveillance camera located by officers that captured the incident, at which time a description of the suspect was broadcast to surrounding patrol units. While canvassing the area, FTO Raymond Wegerneck and officers Carlos Ralda observed a male fitting the suspect description at the Exxon gas station located on East Edgar Road. At this time, FTOs Bassage, Wegerneck, and officers Russo and Ralda approached the front of the business. They located the suspect and placed him under arrest as he was exiting the store. The suspect was subsequently charged with 2 second-degree crimes, unlawful possession of a weapon and certain persons not to have weapons. This incident involved many officers, some of which provided key information via portable radio, locating evidence and canvassing the area, looking for the surveillance cameras that ultimately led to the apprehension of the suspect. In recognition of their exemplary action involving grave personal danger in the intelligent performance of their duties, Sergeant Matthew Wisnowski, Sergeant Gavin Sheehan, FTO John Bassage, Raymond Wegerneck, and officers Jonathan Barrios, Nicholas Russo, Michael Amaral, Juan Smith, Richard Arnold, Carlos Ralda are all awarded the Commendation Medal. On July 12, 2021, several Linden police units were dispatched to an area on the 100 block of West 18th Street on a report of two males walking through backyards of that area and were currently loitering around a parked SUV. FTO Ariel Franjul was the first to arrive on scene and observed a male fitting the clothing description who was known to him from previous police involvement. While interviewing the first male, Franjul also noticed a second individual who also fit the description previously dispatched, walking from an adjacent area. While coordinating with other responding units, Franjul observed a bulge in the original male's waistband that led him to believe he was armed. Now with FTO Mikel Diaz and Officer Richard Isidoro on scene, they traced back the path of the second male, to which they found a black .380 caliber semi-automatic handgun and several items of partially burned clothing. While canvassing the area for additional evidence, a third person was located and detained by FTO Jabari Schultz, while Officer Matthew Matlow spoke with the original caller, despite being uncooperative. Based upon the aforementioned recovered handgun and elements of a possible criminal offense, Detective Daniel Hemingway was called in to process the scene. After an extensive canvass of the area, stationary surveillance, and viewing countless hours of area surveillance video, along with law enforcement networking, Detective Hemingway was able to secure key evidence related to an earlier attempted murder in Woodbridge Township related to the stolen firearms recovered and aforementioned suspects. In recognition of their exemplary action involving grave personal danger and the intelligence performance of their duties, FTOs Ariel Franjul, Mikel Diaz, Jabari Schultz, and Officers Richard Isidoro and Matthew Matlos are awarded the Commendation Medal. On July 29, 2021, while on a meal break, officers were confronted by an employee of Park Ave Diner, stating that a male grabbed money from their register and fled in a silver Taurus west on East St. George's Avenue. Officers Phil Palma and Juan Smith immediately exited the establishment in an attempt to locate the vehicle and radio detailed information of the incident to the shift. Shortly after, Officers Nicholas Russo and Jonathan Barrios located the suspect vehicle at the intersection of Elmore and Rawway Avenue. At this time, a motor vehicle stop was conducted and the driver was detained. The suspect was read his Miranda rights and a confirmed show-up ID was completed. The suspect admitted to taking the money from the register, and a search of his person resulted in the recovery of $540 in cash. In recognition of their professionalism, attention to detail, and their special efforts to accomplish it, Officers Phil Palma, Juan Smith, Nicholas Russo, and Jonathan Barrios are awarded a certificate of commendation. On March 12, 2021, dispatcher Karen Wilson detected an odor of a possible electrical fire inside the dispatch center. After looking outside, she noticed a heavy smoke condition on Blanky Street and alerted training supervisor Kimberly Matos, dispatchers Citation Battle, Shannon Murphy, and Danielle Vanderhorst of her observation. The Linden Fire Department responded, and it was determined to be an electrical fire on the roof of City Hall, which required a complete evacuation of the building. For the following 8 hours, dispatch had to operate out of a mobile command post that required the use of portable radios and excessive documentation since computer consoles were unavailable. These dispatchers displayed the true meaning of teamwork and professionalism. In recognition of their professionalism, attention to detail, and their special efforts to accomplish it, dispatchers Karen Wilson, Kimberly Matos, Syntasia Battle, Shannon Murphy, and Danielle Vanderhorst are awarded certificates of commendation. Last but not least, this is another one for our dispatchers. August 26th through September 4th, 2021, Hurricane Ida made landfall and went on to become the second most damaging and intense hurricane to ever make landfall in the U.S., with estimated damages for this Category 4 hurricane reaching over $75 billion, with wind speeds reaching 150 miles per hour. The total death toll in the U.S. was 107 lives lost, with 30 individuals being from New Jersey. Hurricane Ida will be remembered for its flash flooding, extensive damage to homes, structures, vehicles, and infrastructure. This hurricane had the biggest death toll ever being recorded in New Jersey's history, and it is to be the second greatest loss of life in this century. It was also the strongest storm that the state has seen in 30 years. At approximately 6 p.m. on September 1st, 2021, Hurricane Ida reached Linden. In less than 12 hours, over 8 inches of rain fell in the County of Union, with a peak rainfall amount of 3.65 inches in 1 hour, a record that has not been seen in over 1,000 years. The men and women of LPD, both sworn and unsworn, left their homes that night not knowing what to expect. They all showed up to work and lived up to the commitment they made to the citizens of Linden. In a 24-hour time period, 14 motor vehicle accidents occurred. Over 250 calls for service were answered. Over 160 disabled motor vehicles ravaged the streets of Linden. The city had numerous street closures due to flooding, with multiple rescues performed on citizens who were trapped on top of vehicles or in their homes. Due to everyone's actions that night, Linden did not have any reported deaths due to Hurricane Ida. The police department, as well as the city, commends everyone who showed up for one of the biggest storms that the state has seen, putting others' safety before them. Your professionalism and your special efforts beyond the requirements of routine duty brought credit to the department. Due to these actions, the following personnel will be awarded a certificate of commendation: Dispatchers Louis Safner, Michael Chabak, Robert Trapani, Kashpek Sitko, Michelle Sellinger, Karen Wilson, Kimberly Matos, Santasia Battle, Shannon Murphy, Danielle Vanderhorst, and Emily Artley. Captain Abdul Williams, Lieutenant Nancy Petrosky, and Lieutenant Vinnie Wegerneck, as well as Sergeant Jimmy Solano, Gavin Sheehan, Leon Pastor. Officers: Michael Lambau, Dolph Joseph, Michael Amaral, Philip Palma, James Edgar, John Bassich, Anthony Matuzowitz, Daniel Mendez, and Nicholas Russo. Anthony Gallego, Raymond Wegerneck, Marcos Abrantes, Daniel Viana, Jonathan Berrios, Richard Arnold, and Juan Smith. All will be awarded the Certificate of Commendation.
Yeah, I didn't write these, sir. On September 19th, 2021, Officer Sonia Wisnowski responded to a call of an unresponsive, not breathing female. Officer Wisnowski arrived on scene and took over CPR from one of the family members, who was being instructed on the performance of such by dispatcher Eric Libby via telephone. Shortly after, Sergeant Christian Ramirez arrived on scene and was able to assist Officer Wisnowski by placing the AED on the unconscious, not breathing female awaiting the arrival of the Linden Fire Department and Medic 10. Thanks to Sergeant Ramirez, Officer Wisnowski, and dispatcher Eric Libby's quick actions, the female was subsequently transported to the hospital with a pulse. In recognition of their prompt and alert actions that resulted in a life saved, Sergeant Ramirez, Officer Wisnowski, and dispatcher Eric Libby are awarded the Life-Saving Medal. In September 2021, Officer Wayne Hans was dispatched to a report of a male in crisis. Once at the residence, Officer Hans met with a male on the second floor of the home. At this time, the male ran into the rear of his home and then into a bedroom. The male attempted to close the door on Officer Hans, but was unsuccessful. Inside the male's room was an open window in which the male ran towards, placing his upper body outside the window in an attempt to jump head first. Officer Hans quickly grabbed the male and was able to pull him back into safety. The male then attempted to break free from Officer Hans and run, but Officer Hans was able to hold onto him until help arrived. Subsequently, the male was transported to the hospital for an evaluation and medical treatment. In recognition of his awareness, attention to detail, and quick response while performing a highly credible act beyond the ordinary course of duty, Officer Wayne Hans is awarded the Chief Citation Medal. On September 9th, 2021, officers were dispatched to Jackson Avenue on a report of a structure fire. Upon arrival, Officer Daniel Viana observed a large cloud of heavy black smoke coming from the front of the residence. As he approached closer, he observed a motorcycle to be fully engulfed in flames. At this time, all residents were evacuated, and he immediately retrieved a fire extinguisher from his patrol vehicle. Officer Viana was able to minimize the spread of the fire to the remainder of the residents while awaiting the arrival of the Linden Fire Department. Linden Fire Department arrived and ultimately extinguished the fire and deemed no structural damage to the residents. In recognition of his professionalism, attention to detail, and his special efforts to accomplish it, Officer Daniel Viana is awarded the Certificate of Commendation. On September 21st, 2021, Officer Richard Isidoro responded to the call of a 1-week-old infant that was choking. Officer Isidoro arrived on scene and directed towards the infant by the mother. The child appeared to be foaming from the mouth and had become unresponsive. Officer Isidoro quickly placed the infant on his knee, stabilizing him with his hand while facing him towards the floor, and began to apply black blows to clear his airway of the excess mucus. Due to Officer Isidoro's quick response and actions, the Linden Fire Department was able to subsequently transport the conscious and breathing infant to Trinitas Hospital. In recognition of his prompt and alert actions that resulted in a life saved, Officer Isidoro is awarded the Life-Saving Medal. On December 5th, 2021, Officer Carlos Ralda and Daniel Viana were on patrol in marked Unit 704 when they observed a vehicle that they recognized to be involved in a theft from the Shell gas station that occurred on November 27th. The vehicle's temporary tag was ran and came back to the incorrect vehicle. As they followed behind the vehicle, the suspect vehicle began to travel at a high rate of speed and make numerous motor vehicle infractions in an attempt to thwart the officers from pulling them over. Upon activation of their overhead lights and sirens, officers observed the driver and the passenger of the vehicle moving around, attempting to conceal something prior to the stop. Once stopped, the officers quickly exited their vehicle, made contact with the vehicle occupants, and brought them to the rear of the vehicle. They obtained consent to search the vehicle, and while doing so, they heard a glass object hit the pavement. When Officer Ralda looked over, he observed one of the suspects kicking a glass pipe containing suspected crack cocaine residue. While searching the remainder of the vehicle, they located the following: 2 glass crack pipes, 4 glass vials containing suspected cocaine residue, 2 brown vials containing suspected anabolic steroids, 8 orange pills in a brown vial suspected to be anabolic steroids, and a vest that was used in a theft that took place on December 4th. Both the driver and passenger had multiple outstanding warrants and were ultimately charged accordingly. After further investigation, the passenger of the vehicle was found to match the description of the thefts that occurred within the city, one occurring earlier in the night, as well as on October 25th and November 27th and 30th. Due to the officers' attention to detail, professionalism, and special efforts that went beyond the requirements of routine duty, Officers Ralda and Viana are awarded the Certificate of Commendation. On December 11th, 2021, Officer Anthony Matuzowicz responded to a used car dealership on West St. George Avenue on report of a motor vehicle theft in progress. Upon arrival, Officer Matuzowicz noticed that there was a vehicle missing from the lot, and further investigation revealed that the business was burglarized and several key fobs were stolen, as well as a 2011 Infiniti. Detective Juan Velard arrived on the scene and began his investigation, which included obtaining video of the burglary and theft. On December 12th, the day after, the stolen Infiniti was involved in a motor vehicle accident on Summit Terrace, and the driver fled in a black Cadillac. A witness was able to provide a description of the driver, as well as a registration number for the Cadillac. On December 13th, Officer Matuzowicz responded to Burwood Drive to take a report of a 2014 Cadillac that was taken without consent. During his investigation, he was able to determine that the Cadillac taken had the same vehicle that the suspect fled in the day prior. Additionally, he obtained the name of the suspect who had possession of the vehicle. Officer Matuzowicz relayed this information to Detective Velarde, who was able to positively identify the suspect as being involved in the burglary. Detective Velarde was able to obtain a confession from the suspect, as well as a majority of the stolen key fobs. The suspect was charged with the appropriate burglary and theft charges. In recognition of their outstanding teamwork and esprit de corps, in performance of highly credible acts beyond the ordinary course of duty, Detective Juan Velard and Officer Anthony Matuzowitz are awarded the Chief Citation Medal. On November 29, 2021, Sergeant Krista Ramirez and Officer Edward Mack were dispatched to Moe's Southwest Grill on report of an armed robbery. Upon arrival, Sergeant Ramirez and Officer Mack began speaking to interview victims, locate surveillance video, and immediately broadcast a description of not only actors, but also a fleeing vehicle. Now, with additional officers responding to Moe's and the surrounding locations, Officer John Condora observed the vehicle fitting the recently broadcast description while responding to the scene. As Officer Condora attempted to turn around to get a closer look, he lost sight of the vehicle, which happened to be reported stolen out of the city of Rahway earlier that evening. It was at that point that Officer Michael Mikolajczyk observed the aforementioned vehicle abandoned and in a recent motor vehicle accident. Officer Mikolajczyk secured the vehicle and crime scene while awaiting the arrival of Sergeant Matthew D'Amata, who coordinated 2 crime scenes in an area search effort. Now, with multiple Linden police units and assistance from nearby law enforcement agencies in the area, a Rahway patrol unit had located a male suspect fitting that description on the Rahway-Linden border. Officers Jason McPhail and Nicholas Scanlon responded to assist in the identification of the suspect and subsequent search. Now, with Union County Sheriff's K-9 on scene, Linden police units were able to locate several items of clothing and a small black handgun near the suspect, which would later prove critical in cooperating initial reports. With an additional crime scene to process, Detectives Juan Velard and Daniel Hemingway responded to process the scene and evidence located. While photographing the scene, a second male emerged from the darkness, attempting to elude the detectives. Their keen street sense aided them in effectuating a field inquiry of the male, who had several large, uncharacteristic bulges in his pockets, which later revealed to be large sums of U.S. currency. As the investigatory detention was developing, a second male also fit the earlier description of the suspect at large. As multiple crime scenes were being processed, countless surveillance videos being viewed, victim and witness statements being taken, the aforementioned male suspects were officially charged with 2 counts of armed robbery and 1 count of possession of an imitation firearm. Additionally, the offenders were charged in other jurisdictions with 3 armed robberies and possession of a stolen vehicle. In recognition of their exemplary actions involving grave personal danger and the intelligent performance of their collective duties, Sergeants Christian Ramirez, Matthew D'Amata, Detectives Daniel Hemingway, Juan Velard, Michael Rizzo, and Officers Edward Mack, John Condora, Jabari Schultz, Nicholas Scanlon, Jason McPhail, Matthew Matlos, Michael Mikolajczyk, Victoria Vasquez, Joseph Appello, Richard Isidoro, Anthony Gallego, and Jesse Colon are awarded the Commendation Medal.
All right, we're gonna get into our service medals for 25 years of service to the department. I'd like to call up Senior Officer Gary Dudash. Please come up. All right, next up, 25 years, Detective Lieutenant John Mekovitz. Right, 25 years of service, Captain Don Geisheimer. All right, 30 years of service. 30 years of service, Lieutenant Nancy Petrosky. Come on. Right, 30 years of service, Lieutenant Andy Barra. All right, I'll have the chief come up for the presentation of this year's Chief's Award for Leadership, which was formerly known as the Supervisor of the Year Award. And we will also be presenting a new category this year to recognize the efforts of our civilian support staff for the agency. The new award category is long overdue and will be presented to the personnel as the Chief's Award for Excellence. Lastly, we will present the Police Officer of the Year Award. All nominations were eventually made to the Chief's office, where supporting documentation and write-ups were obtained for further evaluation. Chief, you start us off.
Good afternoon. I know it's getting late, but bear with us. Thank you. I've had a great day here. We have 2 Chiefs Award for civilians non-sworn in the police department. I'm just going to read the background of it first, and then we'll go ahead with the awards. The Chiefs Award for Excellence is presented to a civilian non-sworn staff member of the Linden Police Department who in the course of their duties and responsibilities has demonstrated outstanding professionalism, commitment, and has made a significant positive impact on the services provided by the police department. Services may include any departmental function taken on behalf of the community, the PD, or the city as a whole. Examples may include a specific outstanding initiative or bodies of work, but all nominees should demonstrate exemplary professional qualities and a commitment to furthering department goals. So the first award for civilian, I'd like to ask up Parking Enforcement Officer Joseph Lindsay to step forward. Joe Lindsay began his career as a parking enforcement officer within the city of Linden in August of 2011. Throughout his career, Lindsay has always displayed an eagerness to assist others and continues to have a real enthusiasm for his job. Always performing his hardest, Lindsay takes steps beyond what is expected of him. He makes it his mission to know his sector inside and out, as well as other sectors in the city by maintaining a personal log of unregistered and abandoned vehicles. There have been numerous times that Lindsay's attention to detail has resulted in locating and recovering stolen motor vehicles on the streets of Linden. Most BOLO broadcasted by dispatch are quickly resolved when Lindsay is working, as they are no match for his keen eye, sixth sense, and his desire to perform. Parking Enforcement Officer Supervisor Gail Hornick endearingly refers to him as her canine for his ability to sniff out suspects. P.O. Lindsay's performance is recognizable because of his professionalism, attention to detail, and specific efforts beyond the requirements of routine duties expected of a parking enforcement officer. It is with great pleasure that PEO Officer Joe Lindsay is one of the recipients of this year's Chiefs Award for Excellence. Appreciate the hard work. Our second Chiefs Award for Excellence to civilian non-sworn will go to Kimberly Matos. Dispatch Training Coordinator Kimberly Matos will receive the Chiefs Award for Excellence. Dispatcher Matos is recognized for her demonstrated leadership in dispatch and for her consistently and wholeheartedly serving the community. Dispatcher Matos began her career in 2001 and has been the training coordinator for several years, ensuring that the Linden Police Department's 911 Telecommunications Dispatch Center complies with state and local guidelines. Dispatcher Matos supervises other dispatchers who work long hours answering stressful calls and does so in an efficient and effective dispatch center. She takes steps beyond what is expected by working with vendors and IT units when updates and new programs are needed. Dispatcher Matos is part of the long hiring process of telecommunicator trainees and then maintains their training documents, certificates, schedules, credentials that are needed to move on to a working shift. When she is not training, Dispatcher Matos is part of a team and is always willing to take on leadership role, any role, especially those involving anyone who may be in crisis. Dispatcher Matos has taken a lead role in teaching CIT throughout the state. One year she was named Communications Officer of the Year by the CIT New Jersey Center of Excellence and is recognized by her students still to this day. Her passion to help those in crisis is evident and most certainly benefits our community. Dispatcher Matos displays the utmost professionalism in her duties and responsibilities because she understands that a dispatcher's actions will help save lives, protect property, and assist the public in their time of need. She holds meetings and trainings to ensure that each trainer assigned to a shift is capable of continuing this process with each new member of their team. Each year, Dispatcher Matos looks to share ideas and concepts that are important to the dispatch center. Her leadership skills are most evident when she ensures that each dispatcher's mind is in the game and assures them that she is always available if they need anything. Dispatcher Matos is a vital part of special events such as National Night Out, Fire Prevention Night, and the CIT Picnic and Easter Egg Hunt that benefits those living in our community. Dispatcher Matos is recognized because of her professionalism, attention to detail, and efforts beyond the requirements of routine duties expected of a dispatcher. It is with great pleasure that the Dispatch Training Coordinator, Kimberly Matos, is one of the recipients of the 2021 Chiefs Award for Excellence. Thank you, Kim. The Chiefs Award for Leadership is presented to a superior officer who in the course of their duties has demonstrated outstanding leadership and made a significant positive impact in the services provided by the police department. Services may include any departmental function, again, taken on behalf of the community, police department, or city as a whole. Examples include specific outstanding initiatives or bodies of work, but all nominees should demonstrate exemplary leadership qualities and a commitment to furthering department goals. The 2021 Chiefs Award for Leadership is awarded to Sergeant Monica Oliveira. Sergeant Oliveira is recognized for her demonstrated leadership in her efforts to improve traffic safety throughout the city. Sergeant Oliveira has been assigned as a sergeant to the Traffic Bureau for several years, and over that period, the responsibilities and duties in that office expanded significantly. Following the promotion and reassignment of Captain Gunther, Sergeant Oliveira remained as the only supervisor running the Bureau until Lieutenant Conk's assignment in February of this year. Rather than bunker down and reduce services to a more manageable level, Sergeant Oliveira continued and even expanded in some cases the programs and services offered by the Bureau. As a traffic supervisor, Sergeant Oliveira oversaw the investigation of 26 serious crashes, including 5 fatalities in 2021. As the department's first certified traffic control coordinator, Sergeant Oliveira works closely with the Linden Engineering Department to review and evaluate traffic plans associated with utility work, redevelopment projects, and other issues. Due to her extensive experience and expertise, Sergeant Oliveira has also been tasked with developing traffic plans associated with all major events within the city, including National Night Out, various festivals, and even the Linden Halloween Parade. She also played a vital role on both the police and city levels and coordinated a visit from the Polish president this past September. Sergeant Oliveira directly supervises both the high-intensity traffic enforcement and parking enforcement officers. She has remained steadfast in her commitment to utilize personnel to address speeding and other qualities of life brought forward by citizens, school officials, and elected officials. Examples of her efforts include the Street of the Week program, the Wood Avenue double parking detail, and the citywide abandoned unregistered vehicle detail. Sergeant Oliveira also oversees our school crossing guard programs consisting of over 60 crossing guards. Over the years, she has made significant efforts to recognize these individuals for their important contributions to our community through our biannual luncheons and service award programs. Sergeant Oliveira has taken a leadership role in her efforts to further engage in community policing. She has implemented several new programs to better serve residents, including bicycle rodeos, a walking school bus program, and a child seatbelt program check. She coordinates enforcement efforts associated with pedestrian safety, pedestrian decoy enforcement, as well as grant programs that include Click It or Ticket, You Drive, You Text, You Pay, and Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over. Sergeant Oliveira has distinguished herself throughout the county and state as an expert in her field as a police officer and as a supervisor. Her commitment to furthering departmental goals and improving our services to our community is truly exemplary. Sergeant Oliveira is consistently striving to better the department and the city through her tireless effort she gives to her assignment. Always a professional, Sergeant Oliveira communicates effectively with politicians, peers, subordinates, and the public. It is with great pleasure that Sergeant Oliveira is the recipient of the 2021 Chiefs Award for Leadership. And we have one last award before a couple short speeches, and then we'll be out of here, and we appreciate your patience, ladies and gentlemen. The Police Officer of the Year Medal is awarded on an annual basis to the officer who best exemplifies the commitment, attitude, and values expected of a Linden police officer. An officer's total body of work should be considered, and while a single action may be highly regarded, an officer should not be selected solely based on a single action. The 2021 Police Officer of the Year is awarded to Detective Juan Velard. Detective Velard will receive this prestigious award for not a single action, but a culmination of dedicated investigative work. Detective Velard is an 11-year veteran of the police department. He has spent the last 5 years assigned to the General Assignment Detective Bureau, and prior to that, he has spent 1 year assigned to the Union County Homicide Task Force. In 2021, Detective Velard conducted a vast amount of investigations ranging from frauds to homicides. He played a major role in the investigation of 3 separate armed robberies that occurred in Linden in January and February 2021 that led to the charging of 2 defendants with a first-degree armed robbery. In February, Detective Velard assisted Detective Rollins in the considerable missing persons investigation, ultimately and unfortunately led to the discovery of the victim's deceased body in Newark. In August, Detective Velard played a major role in assisting the Union County Homicide Task Force in a homicide investigation in our jurisdiction. The task force was short-staffed and currently working multiple homicides that occurred over the same weekend. The task force leadership had full confidence in Detective Velard and in his ability to take lead on the homicide investigation without the task force responding to Linden. This is a testament to his ability to work a scene, his attention to detail, and professionalism. In November, he investigated a residential burglary with 2 elderly women were the victims. Through an ample investigation, he was able to identify and charge a defendant with the burglary, a task that is much more difficult than what many may think. Later that same month, he investigated a commercial burglary. Working with a tip from the patrol division, he was able to identify and charge a defendant with the burglary, as well as recover the stolen property. At the end of the month, he conducted and closed out a significant investigation into 2 armed robberies that occurred back-to-back. The initial investigation led to the arrest of 1 defendant who was charged with 2 counts of a first-degree armed robbery. A second defendant was later located and charged only at the time with receiving stolen property. A subsequent follow-up investigation led to the second defendant also being charged with 2 counts of first-degree robbery, as well as an additional first-degree charge in 2 separate jurisdictions. Detective Velard is a very knowledgeable and dedicated investigator. He puts forth maximum effort into all his cases and is always willing to assist others with their cases. He is very easy to get along with and maintains a very extensive network throughout the law enforcement community. His work ethic, organization, relationships, and overall knowledge of investigations is what leads Detective Velard to excel in his position. Detective Velard, your commitment, attitude, and values are what is expected of a Linden police officer. You display outstanding teamwork and spread a feeling of pride, fellowship, and common loyalty to your colleagues. You are awarded for performance that is recognizable because of its professionalism, attention to detail, and its special efforts that go beyond the requirements of routine duties. In addition, your participation and involvement with outside agencies during investigation improves the department's functioning and brings credit upon this department. Detective Juan Velard, your total body of work was considered and highly regarded. For this, you are awarded the 2021 Police Officer of the Year. Job well done.
Hi, Mr. Mayor.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, it's going to be short and sweet. I just want to say thank you to all of you. I don't think that people realize how tough of a job that you guys have to do. As the mayor of this town, I'm extremely proud of you all. I really am. I get the reports from the chief on a daily basis, and it's like every day is something new. And I'm just proud of the way you guys conduct yourselves. I'm proud of the dispatchers. I am proud of my traffic enforcement officers. I'm proud of all of our secretaries. You guys have you have the toughest job in the city. And if this police department goes, so does my city. So I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for doing a great job, because when you do a good job, it makes me look good, and people want to keep me around for a few more years. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, guys, for hanging in. I know it's a long afternoon. This went longer than we thought, but we want to recognize everybody with COVID and not getting together. I think it's tremendous to see everybody in one room before I start my formal remarks, but thank you again. I'm going to say a few things now, if you just bear with me for 2 or 3 minutes. Good afternoon. I would like to thank everyone for being here today. A day that we not only take our annual picture, but a day that we recognize the actions of our officers and employees and honor them for their service, acts of bravery, and professionalism. It is an honor for me to be able to address the great members of the Linden Police Department, the best department in the state. I'd like to extend my heartfelt appreciation for your continued dedication, hard work, bravery, professionalism, day in and day out. This thank you is for all of our employees, everybody in this room, our sworn officers, our civilian staff and clerks who work behind the scenes. You don't hear about them, but they're here day in and day out. Our secretaries, our 911 dispatchers, who are also first responders, and our crossing guards, also unsung heroes of our town. As the cliche says, it takes a village, and this village is the Linden Police Department. Your hard work and dedication does not go unrecognized by myself or others in the city here. These continue to be difficult times in policing in our country, as we all know. With those calling for defunding of police, absolute craziness, anti-police sentiment, this COVID scourge that has affected every one of us, and nobody was more stressed out than myself. As Captain Geisheim will tell you, the two of us in that office over the last 2 years. Thank you for your continued efforts with this COVID. Continued state mandates and directives from the Attorney General's office, and of course, violence against officers across our country. There is no job that is under such scrutiny than that of a police officer, most especially over the past 2 years. You must also remember it is the most noble of professions, and there is no job when you can help or affect the lives of so many people in a career than that of being a cop. I don't care if you're in Newark, Elizabeth, Mayberry, Cranford, or wherever you are, there's no job that you affect people like yours. Today, this department continues to be a leader in the county and state in body-worn cameras, public information officer and social media outreach, training, professional standards, and IA, and mental health de-escalation. We are also recognized for our traffic and investigative units and for their tremendous work and knowledge throughout the county. Our ambassador program in the patrol division continues to bring the LPD to the forefront citywide with our residents and our businesses. This recognition is due to the efforts of each and every one of you in our patrol division who goes to all these functions. And I don't say no to anything, and Captain Gunter knows, and Captain Geisheimer, when these things come in, they say, oh, we can't do it all. I said, we're going to go to everything we're asked to do. If we got the manpower, we're going to do it. And thank you to all of you that continue to do this day in and day out. Today, we have the most diverse department in our history. We currently have 142 members, and this diversity includes cultural, ethnic, and gender diversity. I am proud to say that we have over 35 bilingual officers and 19 female officers, a great accomplishment for our agency. We will continue our aggressive recruitment campaign in the future, and we will continue to hire more officers to keep each other safe and to keep the city safe and strong. As you are all aware, we continue to move forward with our goals of decreasing violent crime, decreasing burglaries, and of course, increasing community policing and community outreach. As I said a few weeks ago at our church service, citizens want 3 main things from their police. They want well-trained officers, they want increased community policing and outreach, which we're doing here, and they want transparency and accountability when things go wrong. You are aware that community policing is key to our service here in Linden and at the Linden Police Department. We have made so many great strides in contacts with our residents, businesses, schools, and community and religious leaders. Please continue to keep up the great work you are doing. You must always remember that the majority of our citizens support the cops, whether they tell you or not. There's a big silent majority out there that support each and every one of you. And I must bring up this topic, as you know what's gone on in the last couple of months here with stress in our policing here in our state. Please remember to take care of each other. Always know that we have services available to all of our employees, sworn and civilian. This includes our EAP, our cop-to-cop, Our chaplaincy program, thank you to Pastor Pam, who's here today, and Rabbi Katz, who was here earlier, and our resiliency officers. And all the information you give to them, of course, is confidential. It takes a hero to wear the badge and uniform, and it takes a hero to ask for help when things just aren't right in our lives. As also I've mentioned in the past, I will always say this, always remember faith, family, and fraternity. These are most sacred in our lives. In 2021, the Linden Police Department was extremely busy, as you all well know. We handled over 66,993 police actions, resulting in 53,500 police reports. There were 2,840 motor vehicle crashes, 25 of those were serious crashes, resulting in 5 fatalities. We had 25 Narcan deployments. You responded to 2,168 alarms, 18 shooting incidents, resulting in 6 hits and 2 fatalities. And as you well know, domestic violence is through the roof, shoplifting and mental health calls are the worst I've seen it in 35 years. These responses continue to put stress on all of our officers in our system, and this year we're over 6,000 calls already over last year. In 2022, this year, we will continue to hire, we'll continue to expand our drone program, we are going to require accreditation for the police department, we will finalize our flock camera and ALPR system hopefully in the next few weeks at 20 strategic locations throughout the city, and we will continue and expand our ambassador program. We'll sponsor our Youth Academy again, our National Night Out, and we're looking into a Citizen Academy possibly in the fall. And I have been aggressively seeking, as the mayor knows, I hound him constantly, seeking land and money and funding for a much-needed new police department, which we've been looking into. The mayor and I have talked privately for months about this, and so we're going to try to get this going hopefully soon. And these are just a few of the projects and programs that we're pursuing this current year. Before I close, I want to thank Lieutenant Wagenek and his committee for facilitating this event today. It was great, a little longer than we thought, but it's important that we're together here as a family and that we recognize each other. We don't see each other. Sometimes half the department don't see each other for months, so it's great to be in the same room with everybody. I want to thank the mayor and council for their continued support of our department. Without money and manpower, we can't run a department. And this mayor has completely funded the Linden Police Department. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the council. I want to thank our invited guests, particularly Chief Haskell, who's been here, quiet, sitting over there. Chief, good friend of mine, a good friend of the police department. We have a great fire department here. Thank you, Chief, for coming. And Pastor Pam, and thank you to our police chaplains. Thank you for being here. Thank you to our command staff, Captain Geisheimer, Captain Cassiopo, Captain Gunther, and Captain Toth. Thank you. Thank you to Joe Bodek. Joe's one of the silent heroes. I said we talked last year. Alexis Zach, our financial officer, Joe Bodek, who takes care of all the stuff behind the scenes, certificates and licensing, everything you don't know about, Joe handles under a lot of stress. Thank you, Joe, for being here. And, of course, Jessica Sheehy, who handles personnel. Thank you to all of them. So congratulations to all those who are recognized today. Thank you all again for all that you do daily to make this department look good. I am proud of this department, proud to be a cop. All of you should be proud to be a cop, not hide when you're off duty. Be proud that you're a cop. And certainly be proud to be called the chief of this department. May God bless this great department, LPD, and all its employees, and God bless our great country. Thank you.
If everybody could please stand for a closing prayer. Pastor Pam.
As the chaplain of this fine, fine Linden Police Department, I extend to each and every one of you congratulations just for making the choice to serve. Serving is so meaningful, and I take this very, very seriously. And I want to pray just a very short prayer to let you know that you're sincerely appreciated, but we want you also to be covered by the highest power possible, because all of you are the best. Let us pray. Thank you, Lord, for the covering that you have placed upon them all year. And we ask that you continue for the future. We ask that you bless them individually, but you also bless them as a unit collectively. We ask, dear Lord, that you keep them and protect them from dangers both seen and unseen. We ask, God, that you take them in the palm of your hands. God, we know that they need so many things in life, but you know above all, and you're able to provide. So as you protect them, as you direct them, just encourage them, especially while on the force and while at home. Keep them safe, but just keep them blessed. God bless America. God bless Linden. God bless the Linden Police Department that rocks harder than any police department in the world. We love you. Amen.
All right, so a couple things here before we conclude. Make sure you pick up your Army shirt there so they don't have to carry that stuff out. There's also cake and coffee in the back room. Even if you don't want a slice, take a slice. All right, if there are any errors, guys, hang on a second. Guys, just one moment, please. If there are any errors on any of the certificates that were handed out, please see me directly. If you need medals, right, for your uniform, come and see me. The Hurricane Ida certificates are up here. Before you leave, get them here. And congratulations to all those that received recognition today. Lieutenant Barra, I need to see you before you leave. I have a certificate up here for you. Thank you. Very good. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
This is everything else in Noteworthy.